Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir? Welcome to NUST.
Walaikum Assalam. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's always a privilege to speak to the audience, essentially the custodians of Pakistan's future.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you so much. It's actually an honor for us to have you here today. Like any other podcast, we'll start from your journey, from where it began. Where did you study it from? Which discipline? Why did you take that decision? And any internship stuff. So yeah, from where did it all start?
So obviously, I was born in Karachi. This was back in 1986. Ended up spending the next 13 years in Karachi itself. So that's where my early schooling was from. In 1999, my father, who was in the government services back then, he was transferred to Malaysia. So I went on to take my O levels and A levels from Malaysia. Uske baad, obviously A levels tak to bahut, it's a standard routine journey for every student.
Yeah.
A levels or FSC tak. Then came the more difficult decision ke aage karna kya hai. And hand on heart, झूठ नहीं बोलूँगा. My father would always say कि engineering कर लो, उसके बाद जो करना है ना कर लेना, because engineering is your the most important standard degree, he used to say. Chemical engineering appealed to me because I had a few chemical engineers in my family. So as luck would have it, I applied. Or 2003 May, I left for Canada. I studied chemical engineering. I graduated in 2008 with a bachelor's in chemical engineering and political science.
From which institute?
This was from the University of Toronto. So chemical engineering kari or political science. Don't ask me why political science.
Yeah.
Purely out of interest.
Okay.
Koi combination nahi banta. Came back in 2008. Came back to Pakistan immediately after I graduated. I remember back in the day. Obviously, I had friends over there. Sab ye puchte the ki why are you going back? There's so many opportunities in Canada, but I maintained us waqt ke there's no place like Pakistan in terms of opportunities, and even today, I believe that was the best decision I've taken in my life, which was to come back to Pakistan, and several reasons for that. Again, we could go on for a while, but 100% one of the best decisions I've took was to come back to Pakistan. Came back, joined Engro, essentially as a graduate trainee engineer.
So this was your first job?
This was my first job.
In Engro. And since then you're in Engro?
So since then I've been in Engro.
Okay, great.
So since I was a chemical engineer, I joined Engro Polymer as a process engineer. Or this was at a manufacturing facility at Port Qasim. So
we're going to pause here. So no internships till then?
No, so I did intern in between. Apologies for that. I did intern in between. So whenever I would come back during my summer break to Pakistan, मेरी पहली internship was at Atak Refinery in Morga. So वहाँ मैंने 3 महीने गुजारे, got good understanding of the refinery operations. फिर went back, चला गया वापस छुट्टी के बाद Canada. फिर 1 साल पूरा किया. Second year के बाद my internship was in this company called KMC Oil Tools.
Okay.
KMC Oil Tools क्या करते थे? They would manufacture lubricants for drilling operations. तो वहाँ पे समझ में आई कि upstream पे what's important, right? Then went back. Then I interned in came back in third year. Third year I interned at PCSIR. These were the laboratories in Karachi.
Yeah.
So वहाँ पे internship की because I wanted to understand. मैंने ये सोचा कि refinery operations के बारे में पता चल गया है. Upstream थोड़ा idea हो गया. I wanted to understand कि what's happening in the research space in Karachi itself. So PCSIR में internship करी, and then obviously went back to Canada, came back, joined Engro. Worked at Engro. Still I'm at Engro, so it's been almost 15 years.
We're going to take it a little slow.
Sure.
Yeah. So thank you very much for sharing that you did all these internships. So what do you think? How important are internships?
So internships की जो importance है ना, I would really want to highlight that for today's kids.
Yeah.
कि internship should be taken as your first your entry into workspace. Had it not been for my very first internship at Atak Refinery, frankly, I might not have gone for Engro Polymer manufacturing division in the future. जब मैं refinery operation manufacturing देखी और समझी, that's something that really inspired me. So and that was again, one thing which sort of pushed me towards accepting a position at Engro Polymer in the manufacturing division. So internships are very important in your early years. Those are your formative years, and please take them very seriously. 2-3 महीने होते हैं. You learn new things, you meet new people, and again, if you end up with good counsel, I was very fortunate to have very good counsel at Atak Refinery. They inspire you, they advise you, and based on their advice, you're able to take better decisions. So internships are very, very important for students, especially in today's day and age.
So if I ask you, Engro versus any other multinational, for example, can you explain how is it different at that core, how is it different from multinational, if you have opportunities in to work for a multinational versus Engro, which is like Pakistani company, right? What are the 2 things or 3 things that you think are better in Engro, for example?
So देखिए, when we speak to students, obviously not just students, talent पे हम जब talent से बात करते हैं, पाकिस्तान में इस वक्त जो multinationals मौजूद हैं, they are there, they are able to offer you international opportunities. That's one thing multinationals can do for you, but perhaps Engro cannot do that for you right now, because we are essentially a Pakistani company based in Pakistan, operating out of Pakistan, right? And inshallah, we are very certain with the plans we have, that's going to change in the very near future. But let's stick to what it is today. Where Engro is different, like I said once again, it's you will find MNCs in just one sector. Again, you could find MNCs in OMC, you would find MNCs in FMCG, but you would not find MNCs, or very few MNCs in operations which are spanning across industries, right? So that is where Engro fundamentally, it's very different from MNCs A, and B, I think Engro में जो है ना एक spirit जो बहुत ज़्यादा historically देखी और आज भी बहुत मौजूद है, that is endeavoring to solve Pakistan's what we call pressing issues. You go back in the day, जब गैस की डिस्कवरी हुई, Exxon ने प्लांट लगाया, essentially which became Engro Fertilizer. You come to the late 1990s, petrochemical sector wasn't there, PVC wasn't there in Pakistan, market was there, but there's no PVC manufacturing. Engro stood up and said, hey, you know what, we're going to take a bet on this sector, and they did set up the PVC plant in Pakistan. Then came FMCG, Engro Foods में घुसे, Engro Foods का venture हुआ, and then came the biggest one, perhaps, which was SECMC and EPTL, where we said that we are going to take a bet on Pakistan's coal reserves when no one else was willing to do that. So Engro gaya, SE partnered with the Sindh government. We not only extracted coal, but we were able to put a plant at the coal mouth, and now we are producing electricity, which is for Pakistan's energy security, right?
This is amazing, actually identifying the problems of the country and then addressing to those problems. And this also means, correct me if I'm wrong, this also means that you are going to be catering to all the disciplines, of being offered here at NUST or any other or any other institute, because there's so much to offer from Engro's end, right? Because you're into so many businesses, you have so many opportunities every day, they're coming up. So this is amazing. Can you tell about, your day one in Engro, has anything changed since then?
Yeah, a lot has changed. So obviously, I think most importantly, the generation has changed. That's the biggest thing. And now, as head of people division, it's important for Engro and for all the wider industry to understand that kids who came at our doorstep on day one, back in let's say early 2000s or mid 2000s, it's not the same. And today's generation is very different. So today's generation is much smarter. Today's generation is much more aware. And today's generation, and I dare say, is willing to take that risk. Today's generation is there to ask questions.
There was a time when we used to get employment only based on the degree, right? So you think that times have changed and now it's more about the skill set and not just the degree?
I would say 100%. But I would also want to caution the students today that no matter what you do, at the end of the day, it's very very important to be the master or be the expert in that one thing, right? So never lose sight of that. So what you've studied and what you have sort of honed further in the first couple of years, which generally is what you've studied, is extremely important. But going forward, I think the world is all about continuously upskilling yourself.
I get that, but मुझे थोड़ा सा आप इसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा you need to explain a little more. How do you identify that? I mean, ठीक है, मैंने डिग्री ले ली for example, but now how am I going to identify कि अच्छा ये वो skill set है जो मेरे अंदर हो सकता है या मुझे develop करने की ज़रूरत है? How do you identify and then how do you actually get that?
I can only talk from my own experience, and that's so in 2010, economics was something which always appealed to me. Like I said, engineering again was my father's advice, and a great one obviously back then. Economics it came purely from my heart, right? That interest. So I decided, I joined IBA, और फिर मैंने अपना masters in economics complete किया in 2015. And that's when I realized that my interest lies more in economics. Conversation in economics and conversations in international relations and political science, they trigger a different feeling inside me, and they trigger a different thought process as opposed to the standard engineering conversations, right? So एक तो आपका हमेशा होता है कि what are you more inclined towards? So that comes from within A. And B, I think we also have. I think that we also have the advantage of access to so much information out there. You have access to people you can listen to. You have access to people you can network with. You have access to people you can learn from. Conversations with anyone can spark a thought inside you, and perhaps which can additionally spark an interest out of that thought, right? That thought can grow into an interest. So I think what's more important is don't be tunneled in your approach. Make sure that you continue to grow your perspective. आपका horizon जो है ना वो broad से broader होना चाहिए. And that's where your inspiration will always come from.
What is the menu for our graduates? I mean, it's as directors, I just wanted to know. So what are you offering for the fresh graduates in terms of careers, in terms of choices? For internships as well as GT program or MT program, if you have any.
So okay, that's a good question. Engro का जो सबसे पुराना program है, and the program that we take most pride in is a graduate internship, the GT program, the graduate trainee internship engineer program. So after students have graduated, they apply to Engro. And once they have gone through the process and they have made the cut, they become graduate trainees.
But what is the process?
So the process is very simple. That's something which is run by the talent team, and where they approach the different academic institutions, and they obviously there are tests. They make their pick, and then the most important element is how well people or how well students perform in the interviews or the placement centers that we have got. We changed the philosophy last year. It was a great intervention by the central team, and let's say once a person has been picked, and let's say an individual ends up in Engro Energy, he or she becomes a graduate trainee. So let's say if it's you and you become a graduate trainee at Engro Energy, it's a standard curriculum which makes sure in your first year that two things are covered. A, you are covered functionally, and B, you are covered. You sort of you are given offered that training which allows you to become a leader of tomorrow. Functionally would mean that you are well versed with the plant operations.
So now, I mean, how do you develop these leaders? I mean, what are those ingredients to get these leadership skills inculcated in you?
So see, that's a great question, and no one has been able to crack that code. Let me be very honest with you. And also, it's a process which is evolving, and it will continue to evolve. And I can only share Engro's example with you. So back in the day, so what we have said what we say is that the framework needs to be consistent for everyone, so that you and I, we are assessed on it's the same yardstick for the two of us, right?
Yeah.
We call that a leadership competency model. So we assess talent based on 4 competencies at Engro.
Okay.
There's no 5th one. There are 4.
Yeah.
And we very strongly believe that as a result of the research we have done together with a few consultants, very prominent consultants, we believe that the important areas of leadership, right, are covered in these 4 competencies. The first one, and perhaps the most important one, is what is referred to as puts people first. And what does puts people first mean? That means A, growing yourself, developing yourself. B, developing your team. C, mobilizing others. And D, also inspiring others. So once that is done, right, your people area is essentially settled. You have to grow yourself, develop yourself, and develop your team fundamentally. The second competency that we focus very heavily on, very strongly on, is what we call acts with ownership. And that basically means that the work which is assigned to you, you are able to find ways to get it done. If there will always be impediments. Engro, I think the one thing which really stands out for me at Engro is not about the final result. It is so important that the journey which you have taken to get to the final point, you might have failed. You might not have gotten the result that you were expecting. The journey that you took, the pain that you took, the actions that you took, they are really valued. And that's basically acts with ownership. The third competency is collaborates openly. No organization can grow unless you've got a very strong team chemistry. Team chemistry is of paramount importance. And last but not least, basically it talks about change and advocate. You're a very strong advocate of change. It basically focuses on what's your how much are you researching and what sort of change are you able to propose in your teams, in the processes, and in the organization in general, right? And this is to make sure that the business remains future ready.
So ये हम लोग को एक लगता है कि अगर आपने grow करना है थोड़े time में तो आप switch कर लें. But you know, I mean, in no time, literally, mashallah, you've become VP, right? So आपको क्या लगता है कि एक ही organization में you need to invest yourself like completely with your heart and soul and all your capabilities and stuff, or you should be looking for switching some in the same level, or कहीं बाहर जाने के लिए कोई ऐसी कोई opportunity आ जाती है, आपको international opportunity आ जाती है या nationally यहीं पे अपने मुल्क में आ जाती है. What do you think about this?
I think this question made me smile because while I was on this flight early morning flight to Islamabad, the person sitting right next to me, he asked me the same question. He said कि यार लोग तो पाकिस्तान छोड़ के जा रहे हैं और आप 15 साल से आप एक ही organization में हैं, so I explained to him 2 things. Number one, again, I think I'm very blessed to be at Engro, and I think it brings me back to my very first point. Why would I want to move out of Engro? I would want to move A, if I was not learning something new, and B, if I was not growing in my role. 2 reasons fundamentally, assuming that the rest has been taken care of, right? Your remuneration, salary, compensation is taken care of, right? Which is also the case at Engro, alhamdulillah. So Engro is, because it's in 4 different industries and sectors, I have always been able to learn something new in a newer role. It's not like I was being promoted in the same role. Moving A, when I was at Polymer,
it was cross-functional.
It was cross-functional. A, that's a great point. It's cross-functional. And B, now it's cross-division. And C, it's cross-business. So ability to move from, let's say, process engineering to technical department, other areas of technical department, business and economics. That's cross-functional. B, cross-divisional is moving from technical division to strategy and business development of Engro Polymer. And cross-business is that ability to move from Engro Polymer to Engro Fertilizer, or Engro Fertilizer to Engro Energy, or from somewhere else to Engro Corp. Very few companies in Pakistan are able to offer you that sort of menu that you spoke of, right?
So you don't feel stagnant, right?
I don't feel stagnant, and not once have I thought, stagnant A and B, that I'm not learning anything or I'm not excited
enough. That's what I wanted to know. So as individual, I mean, mashallah, जितने roles से आप गुजरे हैं, जितनी divisions से आप गुजरे हैं, cross-functional, cross businesses, I'm sure आपने कभी सोचा भी नहीं होगा, for example, कि आप as engineer आज ये वाला division head करेंगे as VP.
That's very true.
You know.
That's very true.
So thank you so much. It was amazing having you here. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the